Hi guys, welcome to my podcast with Horsemanship from Ginny. I'm Yaz. Today I'm going to be talking about making the wrong thing hard and the right thing easy in horse training. It gets talked about a lot in natural horsemanship, and I think a lot of people misunderstand what it means. Sorry about the background noise. I'm driving. I do a lot of travel for my work. I travel to and from different clients. So yeah, there's background noise. It's a time where I think most about my horses and the work that I do with horses. I do a lot of thinking time in my hours of travelling, and so I'm just going to talk about it on my podcast. Not all of them will be thoroughly thought out. Some of them, there'll be ideas that I have and I just want to talk about them and ramble on about them, and I might change my mind about them, comment on them, say what you think, whatever. This isn't one of them. This is something I've thought about a lot. So, the wrong thing hard and the right thing easy. What does it mean? So, when we're trying to teach our horses to do things, overcome fears, do things that they find harder, relatively difficult, whatever reason we're trying to teach a horse to do something and they're not doing it, they're maybe finding it difficult, finding it stressful, whatever. The wrong thing hard and the right thing easy, what it means to do that is it basically just means make the wrong thing harder than the thing you're asking them to do. So to make this work, what you have to do is make the thing you want them to do as easy as possible for them to get right. Say for example, I want you to go near that thing that scares you. We've done all the groundwork, we've done everything, but that thing is scaring you and you're finding it hard to work through it. So what I'm going to do is make running away from it relatively difficult. If you move away from the thing that's scaring you, I'm going to work you. We're going to move our feet. Not only does that help horses work through their stress rather than asking them to stand still and constantly making them go towards the thing that I want them to go to and kicking them and smacking them, whatever, to get them moving towards the thing I want to, that just creates a fight. Give your horse a choice. The horse can move away. They can move away if they want, but it's not going to be easy for them. It's going to be a sight lot harder. That doesn't mean smacking them, it doesn't mean screaming at him, it doesn't mean making their life hell, it doesn't mean hurting the horse, it doesn't have to be particularly hard. It can be, if you move away, we're going to do a couple of laps a trot. That's all we're going to do. And then when you go towards that thing, all the pressure's going to go away, my leg's going to come off, I'm going to stop having a contact on the reins, all the pressure leaves, and you go towards the thing. That becomes easy. Moving away becomes hard, but it's the horse's decision on what they do. They have every right to move away if they want. I'm not going to force them near the thing. That's scary, but I'm going to make it harder for them when they move away. Like I said, you don't necessarily have to be punishing the horse and screwing their head down and kicking them on and making them do a really big trot. It's just going to be more work than it would have been had they approached the thing. Which, if they approach the thing, they can just stand there. If they're not in a place where they can stand there and they can approach it, that's fine. We're going to go away, we're going to work. It's going to be hard work, and as we approach the thing again, all that hard work goes away. That's what making the right thing easy and the wrong thing hard the right thing easy and the wrong thing hard, means. Sorry, I always get it mixed up, and it's a saying that I always jumble up. But yeah, so that's what it means. It's a very simple, very basic way of explaining how to use different types of pressures and releases. So it's a type of pressure and release. It's a different way than just putting pressure on a head collar and asking a horse to move forward. And the reason this works is because regardless of how much energy your horse has and how hot your horse is, or whether they're ex-racers, whether they're still racers, whether they're hot warm bloods or whether it's a fat cob, they all by instinct want to preserve energy. It is their survival instinct is to preserve energy. They don't want to have to run around unless they have to. Usually when they're stressed, they want to move around because it works through that stress anyway, and it gives the horse autonomy. It gives the horses decisions that they can make. It's their choice. If they want to go away and work, they can go away and work. If they would prefer to stand quite quietly by a slightly scary thing and they decide that it's actually not that scary, it's a sight lot easier than working around the school for a couple of laps. Then that's their choice. They make the decision. You're not taking their choices away from them. So if you were to stick to the traditional pressure and release in situations where you need wrong thing hard and right thing easy, you're taking that horse's choice away from it. So the typical pressure in a situation, because largely the wrong thing hard and the right thing easy is when you're dealing with something that the horse finds stressful and doesn't want to do, or they find it hard work and they don't want to do it. If you just use pressure, not your usual pressure and release, which is, say for example, I'm going to stick with the example of horse spooking at something, because that's largely where you'd use the wrong thing hard and right thing easy for the horses to learn. If your usual pressure and release would be face the horse towards the thing, keep your leg on as they approach it until they take a step forward to it, and then take your leg off. This can create quite explosive behaviour, and that's where you get your rearing, because the horse doesn't want to take a step forward, or the dragging people away from things because the horse just does not want to move towards that item. And oftentimes no convincing, no pressure and release will ever convince them it's the right thing to do without heavy punishment of the behaviours you don't want to see. So the rearing, the dragging, without punishing that really heavily, you're not going to see any improvements. Personally, I prefer to avoid the heavy punishment. Don't mind a bit of punishment. If the horse rears, we've got to deal with that as a behaviour in itself. You can't rear to deal with this situation. You can't kick out, you can't bite, or some horses will spin around and bite the rider's legs, grab their stirrups. Really don't want horses grabbing their stirrups, because I've known situations where a horse has grabbed hold of the stirrup iron to bite, and then through their stress their jaw has tightened, and then they're stuck biting onto this stirrup iron. They can't let it go, and then they freak out, and oftentimes it ends up with horses falling over with a rider on their back. So behaviours like that, even if you've made a mistake to push them into it, that still needs a little bit of punishment to be like, that is unacceptable. You can then look at it and go, right, I pushed the horse too far, I shouldn't have done that. It doesn't change the fact that you need to make sure the horse understands that that behaviour isn't what gets you out of this. So as much as we want to avoid the punishment, in that sense, a harsh punishment, if you've already made the mistake and pushed your horse into a position where it feels like it needs to rear, deal with that behaviour. Because I like to try and teach my horses as best as possible, those behaviours are unacceptable, I'm listening to you, and you can show me in other ways you're uncomfortable. Obviously, if we push our horses to the point where they've bitten, reared, kicked, chances are we've missed a lot of signals along the way. It's slightly different when I come to work with horses, because oftentimes these are already behaviours they've learnt to get rid of people, and I need to put a stop to it. So when I come and work with horses, I often, as much as I try not to use punishment, it's already a learned behaviour that I need to stop the horse doing, otherwise someone's going to get hurt. So oftentimes I end up having to use more punishment than I'd like to stop it. Depends on the horse anyway, but yeah. So if you were to use that traditional, you go forwards, I'm not going to let you turn away from it. As soon as you take a step forward, I'll take my leg off. Because then the problem is, what you end up accidentally doing, for example, you've got to see it as if you were stood in front of the horse. You're trying to reel it in, but you're just doing it from their back. You're essentially reeling them in towards that item that scares them, because once they've taken that one step and taken your leg off, chances of people then letting the horse turn away and remove the pressure completely is slim to none. So if you are going to use that pressure and release, you'd have to turn your horse away and give them a break from it. But most people, when they use that form of pressure release, and oh shit, I thought Carl was going to crash then. Most people, if they're using that form of pressure release in that situation, they'll ask the horse to take a step forward, take the leg off, and then they'll put their leg back on pretty quickly to get the horse to take another step, and then it's too much for the horse and they tell you to fuck off. So yeah, it's very much whereas making the right thing easy, you're not pressuring them to go near that thing. If they want to work their arse off, they can. Obviously you don't want your horses dripping with sweat through stress, and this can take a bit of time doing it this way. You're not going to get a horse that's absolutely terrified of tarpaulin, and every time it's been past that tarpaulin it's been battered for the past 3 years, in 2 sessions decide that, oh, it's all okay because you made it a little bit more difficult, you made me trot round a couple of times for not going near it. No, it's going to take a while, it's going to take time, and it may take weeks, it may take months. It depends on how upset the horse is and how good your timing is with your rewards, and how good your timing is with your releases of pressure, how quickly you react to making things harder for them. You don't always have to take them for a lap. A big thing in natural horsemanship is the disengagement of the hind end. The reason I don't use the disengagement of the hind end for relaxation so much these days is because more often than not, what you're doing with the disengagement of the hind end is setting them up later on so that you can use that to make them work hard in a situation where they don't want to do something. It's a lot harder for a horse to disengage the hind end than it is for them to stand and look at an object or move closer to an object. So disengagement of the hind end is usually what I go for. It depends on the horse, it depends on the balance of the horse, it depends how flexible they are. Are they going to do they feel like they're going to fall over while disengaging their hind end? Because if that's a yes, don't do it. Just don't do it. Because you're really going to upset. If you put your horse in a position where you feel like they're going to fall over, they feel like they're going to fall over, and that's really going to stress them out. And you're never going to teach them anything when they're stressed. You want them to feel like it's hard work, not put them into a panic. That's the idea of, that's the general basis of wrong thing hard and right thing easy. So this probably isn't going to be a very long podcast because there's not a hell of a lot more to say about it. I could give you a million more examples, but that's the basis of it, without talking you through everything that a horse could come across where you can use this for. Napping is a good one. Again, depends on why the horse is napping. If the horse is genuinely stressed, it's not a good one. Wrong thing hard, right thing easy is not a good one. Sometimes though, because sometimes the horse is stressed, they've just got to understand they're going to get through it and it'll be okay. Especially out hacking, sometimes you're on a road and stuff like that, we can't just stand here and look at a cone or a traffic cone or a parked cars. There's other cars coming round. I can't do laps with you. I can't be doing trot circles with you, 20-metre trot circles with you. The disengagement of the hind end becomes really handy. Occasionally, I think I've come across 2 horses that I genuinely believe their issues out hacking was laziness, and they are the easiest horses to fix ever, because the only reason they're not hacking out and they're refusing to go out is because they're lazy. And it's usually a tell when the horse is lazy is if you've got several routes and one route is just a walk route and it's fairly short and quick. Horses that are napping out of laziness will often refuse to go to the ones where there are canters and trots that you do very often, and they'll drag you down the 5-minute walk route, and then you can do all the groundwork and stuff that you want, and the horse is still going to nap because ultimately they know you're going to canter them down that other route. In those situations, again, disengagement of the hind end. You teach them it first on the ground, then you introduce it under saddle. You can either have someone on the ground to help mesh it together, or you can just teach them it under saddle. And then Once you've taught them it under saddle and you're confident they can do it well and balanced, and you don't feel like they're going to fall over and they don't feel like they're going to fall over, then you can add it into a situation where you're using it essentially as a punishment. If you don't go in the direction I want you to, we're going to do this work and it's bloody hard. And for the horses that are lazy and purely doing it out of laziness, you'll do it 3-4 times and the horse will never do it again because they're like, fuck that's hard work, I'd just rather walk down this route, I'd rather canter than do that again because that's hard work. And so yeah, essentially, and then what you've also got to do is make it easy. Don't forget the make it easy part, because if you, say for example, have a route that you canter on and you've made it really difficult for them, you've made it really, really hard work for them to refuse to go down that route, and then you still canter them, they're going to see it as just as hard either way. So you want to make it easy for them. No cantering, we're just going to walk, we're not even going to trot, we're just going to walk the route for a while as well. How long it takes to fix a problem depends on the intensity of the issue and how long it's been going on for. The more associations, bad associations the horses has to it, the stronger the association is, and how explosive the horse is when displaying that they have that association to it determines the length of time it takes to fix it. So until you're having zero issues going the direction you want to go in without having to disengage your horse's hind end and making life a bit hard for them, you're not to do any more with them than just a walk. It's going to be easy. I don't even mind if you get halfway out and you turn around and come home. Napping horses, it's a tricky one with turning around and coming home, because it depends on the horse and their personality. They may hit that point next time and go, well, last time I got to turn around here, and then you've got to make it difficult for them there as well. So it entirely depends on the horse, their personalities, and what they're likely to do. Oftentimes we don't find out until we've tried it, and then we go, shit, that was a bad idea. But I'd rather take the chance because I'd rather give the horse the chance. If I give them the chance that it's going to be easy, and if you do as you're told, we'll go home sooner. You don't have to go around the whole loop. It gives them the option to make the right choice. Whereas if you take that choice away from them and go, I don't want to turn around because it's a napper. I've always been told never to turn a horse around on a hack. It's a bit of an old wives' tale. There's a point to it. Don't get me wrong. It's not entirely wrong, but it's largely for horses that don't have this understanding. And then if next time they nap at the point where you last turned them around, alright, fuck you then. I'm not giving you that chance again. I'm not giving you that option. You've shown me I can't trust you to be able to turn around and go home. And those boundaries don't have to stick around forever either. You could hold that boundary for a week. No, you were an arsehole last week when I let you turn around. So you're not going to do it for 2 weeks. We're not going to turn around. And then maybe you get to a point where they've been really good for a couple of weeks walking out. Do you know what? Today I'm going to turn around a bit early. And then next time you take them out, maybe they show you again that they can't be trusted for it. If you do it 3-4 times and they show you and they start napping at that point consistently every time you've turned around, whenever you've turned around, then you can put a blanket ban on turning them around. But there's not really much point in turning around out hacking anyway, other than to give your horse a reward. But lazy horses out hacking are uncommon. Most horses have a genuine reason other than it's just a bit harder going that way. And for the lazy horses, they're usually horses that are relatively heavy set, big, heavy cobs, Shire type horses. Cantering is hard for them physically. They're not the floaty thoroughbreds and warm bloods that find cantering easy. Horses that genuinely find that sort of work difficult, you're just going to make it. But it doesn't mean it's bad for them, it just means they're not built for. Shire horses are not built to canter with a rider on down long tracks. They're built to pull things at a walk. So it is tricky for them and it is hard for them, and it's understandable, but it's not bad for them, it's not hurting them, it's just they'd prefer not to have to do it. That's fine. Unfortunately, horses are work animals. We have them for a reason, we have them to do a job, and them simply saying no, I don't want to, oftentimes isn't a good enough reason. And more often than not, once you've made life a little bit hard for them to not do it, when they do it again, it's not as bad as they thought it was. It's a bit of effort, but come on, man, I pay a fortune for this horse. He can put a bit of effort to go for a canter with me twice a week down a track. I'm not asking him to jump 120 tracks. It's well within his abilities to do what I'm asking of him. I'm not asking too much. So yeah, they're uncommon though. They're uncommon horses. But then, like I said, there are situations sometimes where you've done all the groundwork, you've done everything to settle the horse down. Now the horse is still refusing to go out, and so now you've just got to make it a little, because sometimes it's just a behaviour they've learned. So you can have a reason for a horse learning a behaviour, and then just because they had a reason, you can fix the reason why that behaviour came out, and the behaviour can still stick around because they've learned it now. And why not? Why not? You can't make me, you can't stop me from doing it. You're not willing to make me do it, and fuck it, why not? I don't have to. And like I said, that can become the reason, is I don't have to, you can't make me. And all you have to do is give them a damn good reason why it's worth doing it. You can do this with treats as well. You can do other ways of doing it, but I find if you just use treats, the horses oftentimes can start to take the piss. And in situations, say like you've forgotten your treats, I don't want to be luring a horse around a hack route. You're going to do it because I fucking told you to. You're not in pain, I'm not asking too much of you, you're not stressed out, everything's fine. Come on, man, pull your weight, do your part. I can't lift your legs for you. So there's a bit of that in it, but that's a way you can use making the wrong thing hard and the right thing easy. Yeah, that's napping, spooking, two things that you can do to make the wrong thing hard and the right thing easy. You can do it with, I've done it a little bit with Jasper picking his feet out. So I've talked in past podcasts where when he snatches his foot back, I don't make a big deal out of it, he just doesn't get a treat. He went through a little bit of a stage where his right hind, I think it was because his back was painful, because he had a bite on there, so I think lifting that leg and holding it up was a little bit sore for him. Unfortunately with horses, sometimes you've just got to do this thing that's sore. I know it's shit, I know it does hurt, but things will get worse if I don't do it. Do you know what I mean? You've got a horse with a stiff back, I've got to stretch you out. And they go, oh, that's really sore and uncomfortable. I know, darling, but come on, we've got to get through it. I'll make it as nice for you as possible, and you'll feel better for it in the long run. Sometimes that's what we've got to do with horses. So I think it was hurting his back a little bit. I don't think he was entirely comfortable, but I needed to still pick his feet out. He's got thrush in his feet. I need to get to a point where I can treat the thrush, and so that includes picking his feet out. I'm sorry your back hurts, but unfortunately I have aches and pains every day. It doesn't mean I get to lay in bed all day and not do anything. So what I did to make the wrong thing hard and the right thing easy was, and I only had to do this once because, like I said, I'm not adding punishment into his training yet. I don't want to be telling him off for as much as possible, but he had a couple of tellings off for biting me. Usually they're my fault, but he still can't bite, especially not the way he has done. And so he was consistently snatching his back leg away from me, or he was using his weight to push into me, so I would have to drop him. And so one time all I did was I held onto his leg for a minute while he argued with me and tried to snatch it away, thinking I was just going to let go of it. So I just held on to it. I followed him around a little bit while he hopped about on three legs. I just made life a little bit tricky for him. That was all. Didn't just held on to it, and then I let it go, and he still didn't earn a treat. If he'd have stopped fighting and let me hold it, I'd have given him a treat. He didn't. He snatched his foot away, which I was expecting anyway. I was expecting him to get his foot back. I wasn't expected to hold on to it. I just held on to it for a minute to make it a bit uncomfortable for him that he's snatching his foot away, because he was consistently doing it. And so obviously the rewards weren't enough, because he could pick his foot up, snatch his foot. I could pick his foot up, get half of his foot picked out. He could snatch his foot, pick his foot up, get half of his foot picked, other half of his foot picked out, and then I'd put it down and he'd get a reward. That is what I'm on about when horses can create patterns of behaviours. He still stopped me from doing what he wanted me to do as easily as I would like to do it, but he still got his reward at the end of it by creating these patterns. So I held on to his foot, made it a bit uncomfortable for him to snatch it away from me, made it hard work for him to snatch it away from me. It wasn't as easy as he thought it was going to be. I didn't just drop his foot, and then I let it go. He didn't get a treat, and then I picked his foot up again, and he held it for me. I picked his foot out, job done, he gets his treat. So it was no longer becoming this cycle of foot down, foot up, foot down, foot up, foot down before I got to finish picking his feet out. I want him to stand nicely there. So that's another example of making life harder for him. The hard thing doesn't have to be a heavy punishment. It doesn't have to be a punishment at all. I mean, technically it is a punishment, but it's not a punishment in the traditional sense of a correction as such. So yeah, it's like I said in my 4 Quadrants podcast. If you haven't watched it, go listen to it. It's not linear. It's your quadrants aren't linear. Sometimes the lines are blurred between punishment, rewards, positive punishment, negative punishment. There's lots of blurred lines in there, and to be honest, it doesn't matter if you know which one you're doing, as long as it has the effect you want. That's all that matters. You don't really need to know the words and the specifics of whether that was a punishment or whether that was a reward. As long as it's having the effect you want, either you see less of that behaviour or you see more of that behaviour, you're going in the right direction. So it's just pedantic, really, but I like to try and be correct on what I'm on about when it comes to punishments and rewards, because I want to be honest about the fact that I do punish my horses, and I will punish horses for their poor behaviour. And people oftentimes think horses don't have... I'll make that a different podcast, actually. Yeah, I'll talk about that one on another podcast, because that's a whole podcast about their capabilities of what they're capable of learning and how they're capable of learning. And yeah, so I think I'll talk about that in another one, because that's going to go up. I'm going to drone on for that for a fucking long time. I'm looking forward to making that podcast, because I've wanted to talk about that for a while to someone and no one cares. So yeah, that's my little podcast on making the wrong thing hard and the right thing easy. I know I ramble on a bit, but it's because, like I said, nothing's linear, nothing's straightforward. I could come to a horse that maybe someone's listened to my podcast and they've gone, I've made the wrong thing hard and the right thing easy, and it's not working. It could be the wrong thing to do. You could be doing it wrong. The thing you're making hard for them might not be hard enough. You might not be making the thing easy for them easy enough. There's lots of nuances to it all, and that's the tricky thing about horse training. There's no science to horse training. It's an art form, and to become an artist at horse training, you have to practice at it, and it takes fucking years. And while I'm good with horses, I make mistakes every day. I correct myself every day. It's why I'm really enjoying making these podcasts and these videos for my Patreon, because I'm watching my videos back. I'm watching myself back and going, I shouldn't have done that. Don't know why I did that. That was a stupid choice to make. I won't do that next time. And I probably will. I'll probably make those mistakes 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 more times. I might make them 50 50 more times before I really clock on and figure out a different way of doing it. That's life. That's how training horses works, and that's how we get better, by making the mistakes. I always say horses will suffer our ignorance. It doesn't mean suffering in the sense of they're starving to death or they're being beaten to death. They suffer the fact that we don't know how to do better, and the only way we learn to do better is by trying, getting it wrong, and then maybe getting it right, and then getting it wrong again, and then maybe getting it right, because oftentimes it's trial and error, and you might not know how you got it right, and so you'll get it wrong 30 more times before you get it right again. And that's just life, and that's horse training. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast, guys. I will see you on the next one. Have a good day.